friend told me I would get away with cheating because my husband is a simp. Karma got me hard. Have you ever had a friend who gave you some really bad advice? Well, I certainly have. And let me tell you, it didn't end well for me. There is a phrase that says, rather trust a stone than a human being. They say, listen to your inner voice. Your soul then listen to a friend or anyone else, especially if they were giving advice that would destroy your life and what you were building. I hate the fact that I trusted my friend and went ahead with her advice, only for me to be in the deep end and losing everything I was trying to build. My husband didn't do anything to me or anyone for that matter, but I was encouraged by a friend of mine to cheat on him, and guess what happened? I lost the most loving and caring person I had ever had. Today, I want to share a story with you that happened to me recently. It's a cautionary tale about the consequences of making poor choices and underestimating the power of karma. I wish I had made the right choice of decision. I wish I didn't even listen to what my friend had advised me on. Now I'm all alone, lonely, with no husband and nothing. I can't believe I actually listened to the bad choice and took action on it. I just hate myself for that. Have you ever received advice from a friend that turned out to be a major mistake? Well, I certainly have. Let me share with you the story of how my friend's misguided advice led me down a path of regret and taught me a valuable lesson about karma. My name is Brittany Smith, female 29, and my husband is Bradley James, male 29. Bradley and I met at Central Park. I was going through a lot that day. I had just lost my parents, and things at home were not looking good. So Central Park was the only escape for me. So as I was sitting on the park benches, reading my book while listening to music, Brandon came and asked if he could sit. At first, I didn't hear him because of the earphone that I had on my ears, up until he nudged my shoulder. I gave him the go-ahead to sit on the bench since it was nor occupied. I was reading a book called The White Book, written by Hong Kong. I loved reading that novel. It gave me some sort of peace and assurance that everything was going to be fine. Bradley asked me when I had started reading the book. I tried to ignore him, but he kept nudging me and distracting me. I finally gave him my attention, only to find out that he was actually a fan of Hong Kong. We talked about the book, and he even introduced me to other Hong Kong books. Since we became friends, we were inseparable, seeing that we had a lot in common. Our minds and energies just clicked in a way that I was not even aware of. We would have a book date at the park, and it was so much fun. Our friendship blossomed, and he knew how to make me feel better. I had told him about my family situation and my parents, which was something that was weighing on my shoulders, and I didn't even know what to do nor survive. That time I had even ditched my friends. I didn't want anyone with me. I was pushing so many people away, and I was fine with being alone. But Bradley didn't take no for an answer. He actually forced himself to chill with me. As much as I wanted to decline his request, his handsome face that he made me think otherwise. Bradley was very handsome, clean and focused. I loved the fact that he knew how to make my dull day bright. He was my knight in the shining armor. I would go home feeling a bit better. My other side didn't want to allow Bradley to go. I wanted him to be with me all the time. His company and funny things he would do when we're reading and trying to focus made me want to be with him more than anything. The situation at home was not even helping because every time when I got inside the house, I would feel like *T and would even think of running away from all that was happening at home. It was really taking a huge toll on me, and it felt like I couldn't breathe. I hated how being at home made me think of the worst for myself. I was going through a lot, but I was grateful for Bradley for always being there for me whenever I needed him the most. He was the best friend I had ever had. Bradley always knew what to do to make me feel better. I really don't know what came over me when I decided to cheat on my husband. I really hate how I was easily manipulated by friends to cheat on him. All for what? They called him a simp. My husband loved me for who I am, and he was doing everything for me because he loved me, and it wasn't that he was submissive to me. I was not controlling my husband, and I really hate what my friends did. I was also controlled and manipulated by them to cheat on my husband. So I had a friend, her name is Mandy Lawrence, female 29. We had been friends since high school. She was a very wild person. She loved partying a lot while I was just an introvert. I don't really know how we became friends because our personalities do not match. We were way too different. My aunt didn't like her. She would say she's too forward and loose, so she didn't want me to associate myself with her. Despite my aunt's disapproval, I continued being friends with Mandy secretly without my aunt knowing. When I got into a relationship with Bradley, I had become scarce on seeing Mandy. I was always spending my time with Bradley, not because I didn't like to spend time with Mandy, but Bradley understood me better, you know. He knew what I needed and at what time. Mandy was always out partying. She wasn't available when I needed her the most, but Bradley was there. He would even drop anything that he would be doing and attend to my call. How did I get here? How did I mess up such a good thing that was going on between Bradley and myself? I loved my friend Mandy a lot. Heck, I took her as my sister. Everything that she would say to advise me, I could take it, but it would depend on what I was going through at that time. Mandy was the kind of a friend that would tell you what to do and find a way to convince you until you give in. I should have figured out that her advice of making me cheat on my husband was because she never liked Bradley. She would always find something to say about him. She would make sure to find a fault in everything Bradley did. My friend told me that I could cheat on my husband and get away with it because he's a simp. I didn't really know what that meant at the time, but she made it sound like it was a sure thing. One day, my friend Mandy approached me with a scandalous suggestion. She told me that I could cheat on my husband without any consequences because he was what she called a simp. Now, for those of you who may not be familiar with the term, a simp is someone who is easily manipulated or taken advantage of in a relationship. She actually thought Bradley was easily manipulated, and he was a guy that was submissive to anything that I would say. At first, I was taken aback by her audacity. How could she suggest such a thing? But as she continued to explain her theory, I found myself intrigued by the idea of getting away with something so forbidden. So I listened to her and started seeing someone behind my husband's back. I thought I was being sneaky, that I had it all figured out. But boy, was I wrong. Sure, my husband was a humble and down-to-earth person, but he was not easily manipulative. I took Mandy's advice because I had thought it was going to be a once-off thing and Bradley was never going to find out. I wanted to have a little bit of fun and feel how it was to go outside and explore and experience new things that you had never experienced before. So, against my better judgment, I decided to follow her advice. I know it was very dumb and very foolish of me to listen to someone who is not married while I was married. I didn't even think of the consequences that would take place when Bradley was to find out. I just wanted to feel some type of way for a little bit. I began an affair behind my husband's back, thinking that I would never get caught. I felt invincible, untouchable even. So Mandy and I went to this party. It was one of her own friends' parties, and to say it was nice would be an understatement. It was lit, the vibe was there, and everything was just so perfect. As introverted as I am, but I enjoyed that party a lot. Of course, I had lied to Bradley about where I was going because if I had told him, he would have told me not to go. I just don't know what was happening between Mandy and Bradley, but their spirits didn't connect. They didn't like each other, and that was somehow affecting me. I was in the middle of their own beef. So at the party, Mandy introduced me to this certain guy. She introduced him as Lucas Jordan. The guy was really handsome. I won't lie, but he was not as handsome as my husband Bradley. The Lucas guy was so talkative for my liking, and he was a loquacious and a narcissist person. Throughout the whole night that I had spent with him, it was about him and what he finds interesting. The guy was very handsome and all, but he had no brains, just being a foolish narcissist. Mandy came back and I told her that I wanted to go back home since it was past midnight. I told her that Bradley must be worried about me, especially since my phone's battery had died. My friend, or must I say my so-called friend Mandy, convinced me to stay and told me to let loose a little and be myself and not act like I was a 50-year-old grandma. After a lot of convincing that she did, I finally gave in. Then she told me that even if I find someone attractive, I shouldn't be scared to explore and enjoy that person. It wasn't like my husband would find out and I would manage to get away with it since he was a simp. This simp name kept coming out of Mandy's mouth whenever she would speak ill of my husband. I know I should have defended my husband and not let Mandy's manipulative self get into my head. But what did I do? I just fell straight on her trap, and I was the one who found myself in hot waters. I found myself in the crossroad, not knowing where I was going and where I should go. I shouldn't have allowed Mandy to do that to me, but I guess I was too naive to notice that Mandy was actually trying to destroy my marriage. So during that night, the boring Lucas guy and I continued to engage in a casual conversation. I was glad that he had finally stopped talking about himself like he was in a competition with someone or someone was going to tell him that he was lying. Our conversation was smooth. I drank a lot, trying to forget about my husband that I had left at home. I got intoxicated, and I found myself kissing Lucas. His lips were soft and tender. But one thing that threw me off was the way he was kissing me. He didn't have the skills to kiss. The only thing he was chasing was what was in between my legs. But another thing, he knew how to explore a woman's body, that I can give him a 10 out of 10. He took me from the party to another planet. I felt like I was floating in clouds. That's how much I was enjoying the way he was exploring my body. I loved every moment of it. Besides the kissing skills, the guy had great body exploration skills and good intimate drive. He made me reach my climax within a few minutes, and I don't know how many times I had climaxed. That's how good it was. The following morning, I realized what I had done. The guilt was eating me up so bad to a point that I was even scared to go back home. I didn't know how I would look into my husband's eyes and act like everything was normal while I had committed such abomination. I hated myself for what I had done, and I was regretting it greatly. I thought to myself that a lot would be destroyed if Bradley was to find out. I had gone out there and jeopardized my marriage and relationship with my husband. I was so angry at Mandy for manipulating me to go to the party and to stay when I said I wanted to go back home. My mind kept telling me that Mandy had planned all of this. She knew what would happen when I agreed to stay. She made me chill with that Lucas guy for a purpose. I couldn't believe myself that I was easily manipulated like that, and I was really scared of the outcomes of my abomination because nothing stays in the dark forever. You know, you cannot sweep off something and put it under the carpet and think it would stay there forever. What happened in the dark will always find its way to the light. One day, my husband found out about my affair. He was devastated, heartbroken. I had betrayed his trust and shattered our marriage. But as they say, what goes around comes around. And boy, did karma hit me hard. It didn't take long for my husband to discover my infidelity. The pain and betrayal in his eyes were unbearable, and I knew that I had made a grave mistake. It turns out that karma has a way of catching up with you when you least expect it. And let me tell you, it hit me hard. Only if I had a rejecting backbone, all of this would have been avoided, and I wouldn't find myself in this sticky situation. I realized then that my friend's advice was not only wrong, but also incredibly hurtful. I had let her words manipulate me into making a terrible decision. I soon realized that my friend's misguided advice was not only wrong, but also incredibly damaging. I had allowed myself to be influenced by someone who didn't have my best interests at heart. Another thing I was asking myself was how my husband found out about what I had done. Only 2 people knew about my infidelity. It was the person that I had cheated with, and my friend Mandy only. I wondered who might have told Bradley about the cheating that I had committed. You know, when Bradley found out about my infidelity, he confronted me about it. I tried to deny it, but my denial was nothing because the man had evidence of what I had done. He had a video of me kissing Lucas. I prayed for him to not find out what had really gone down at that party. He only had the video of me kissing Lucas, and I was glad with that because I would have lost my husband if he was to find out. Little did I know that a week later he would get the video. I didn't know who was busy sending him videos of things that I had done. As I faced the consequences of my actions, I learned a valuable lesson about the power of karma. Cheating on my husband not only hurt him, but also shattered the trust and love we had built over the years. Now, I'm left dealing with the consequences of my actions. My husband and I are trying to work through our issues, but it's not easy. We had started a couples therapy together. I told him that I was intoxicated and I didn't think about what led me to kiss the guy. That time, I was trying to fix my things with my husband because of the kiss situation. But things got out of hand when he received the video of me and Lucas getting it down. I don't know who must have taken a video of me, but whoever took a video had straight intentions of destroying my marriage. And guess what? He or she succeeded because with all the effort that we had pulled up to fix our relationship, it went down the drain and there was nothing I would do about it. My conscience told me that Mandy knew about the video that was sent to Bradley, and I really suspected her. As much as she didn't like Bradley, but maybe she had his number. You would never know with Mandy, but I knew her and how she is. After Bradley received the S** tape, I knew there and then that my marriage was over, and thanks to the person who sent the video to Bradley. And thanks to my nonchalant and ignorant self, I should have known that all of that was a trap. Being stopped to go home when I wanted to go and connecting me with the Lucas guy was all Mandy's plan of making me cheat on my husband. Now I have lost everything I had, and I don't know how I would survive without the only person who understood me for who I was and not what I had to offer. I tried to apologize to Bradley, but he didn't want to hear any of it. To say he was angry would be an understatement. The man was furious, enraged with the mix of heartbreak. The damage was too high and there was nothing to do in order to fix it. Not even therapy sessions would have helped. I had destroyed the most valuable thing in my life, all because I had let myself get manipulated by a person I called a friend. My heart and mind was not at peace, knowing that someone had a hand in destroying my marriage. So I had to find out who had sent Bradley the videos of me. That person knew how to get Bradley. I wanted to find out who it was so that I would be at peace knowing the truth. I know it wasn't going to fix my marriage and my relationship with Bradley, but I felt like I needed to know the person behind my sorrows. That person had managed to destroy me emotionally and mentally. I went back home since Bradley didn't want me anywhere near him. It was like I was disgusting to him or something. He told me to wait for our lawyer anytime soon to deliver divorce papers because he can't be with a loose person with no common sense. He was angry at the fact that I had lied to him about my whereabouts, and another thing was that I was gone with Mandy to a party. He knew and understood that I am an introvert and I didn't like going out in crowded places, but I had gone with Mandy, which was something that fueled him more. During my investigation, I had found out that my so-called friend Mandy had actually paid the guy Lucas to sleep with me. I just couldn't believe it, you know? So Mandy had decided to sell me to Lucas, all for what? So when I was still reading what I had got during my investigation, it showed that Mandy had been texting someone in a seductive way, my husband. But Bradley didn't pay any attention to her stunts. I was so shocked when I discovered that my friend that I had taken and treated like a sister was actually the same person who had destroyed my marriage, and not to stop there. She was busy seducing my man behind my back. I now understand why Bradley didn't like her, and my aunt had warned me against her. I was so naive, and Mandy took advantage of that to destroy me. I was so heartbroken and shuddered. I didn't know what to do because as much as I was heartbroken at the fact that I had cheated on Bradley and he filed for a divorce. Another thing was my separation from my husband. On the other hand, the person I had trusted with my life had betrayed me in the worst way possible. Till today, I am unable to move on from what had taken place. I miss my home, my husband, and how our love used to be. I didn't take any actions regarding what I had found about Mandy, and I decided to just leave her alone and focus on my life. I believed that what was happening to me was actually karma for cheating on my husband. The pain I was feeling when I found out that Mandy was the reason for my marriage to end, it was too deep, and it hurt more than a divorce. I want to forgive myself and forgive Mandy for what she had done and what I had done, but it wasn't easy. It felt like the more I tried to allow myself to forgive and forget, the more I was hurting myself. My divorce with Bradley hasn't been finalized, and I am praying that he comes back to his senses and allows us to try again and fix our marriage. I wish he could give me a chance to rectify my wrongs and fix what is broken. I know I had not only broken our marriage and trust, but I had also broken the heart of the only person who had shown me genuine love and care. Bradley had been there for me throughout everything that I was going through. He had helped me find myself again after my parents' passing and the ill treatment I was getting from my distant family members. My aunt was so disappointed in me when she heard the truth of why I was coming back home, and I don't blame her. I've learned the hard way that cheating is never the answer. It only leads to pain and destruction. So if you ever find yourself in a situation where a friend is encouraging you to do something wrong, think twice. Consider the consequences and choose the path of honesty and integrity. I miss my husband so much, and I want to fix things with him since our divorce hasn't been finalized. Please help me with some advices and guides. I really need to win my husband back. What do you think I should do?